The taxi driver looked at me through the rearview mirror and said, "Your husband doesn't deserve you." My blood ran cold. How could he know? How could a complete stranger see what I had been hiding for 3 years? My name is Sarah. I'm 32 years old. And until that night, I thought my life was under control. I live in Austin, Texas, in a house that looks perfect from the outside. White fence, trimmed lawn, a golden retriever named Max. My husband, David, is a successful corporate lawyer. We've been married for 5 years. To everyone who knows us, we're the ideal couple. But that night, in the back seat of that taxi, with David passed out drunk beside me, everything I had built began to crumble. It all started 3 months earlier. David had been promoted to partner at his firm. It was everything we had worked for, everything we had dreamed of. But with the promotion came the endless nights, the business dinners, the calls at 3 in the morning, and the drinking. God, the drinking. David had always enjoyed a glass of wine with dinner, but now it was bottles, plural. Every night he came home smelling like whiskey and excuses. I tried to be understanding. I really did. His job was stressful, the pressure was immense, and I wanted to be the supportive wife. But with each passing week, I felt more invisible. We stopped talking, we stopped laughing, we stopped being us. Our house became a museum of what we used to be, full of wedding photos and vacation memories that felt like they belonged to other people. That particular night, we had gone to a firm event in downtown Austin, one of those fancy parties where everyone pretends to be happy and successful. David drank too much, as usual. By 10 o'clock, he could barely stand. I called a taxi because I didn't trust myself to drive after the 2 glasses of wine I'd had, trying to numb the embarrassment of watching my husband make a fool of himself in front of his colleagues. The taxi arrived 15 minutes later. The driver was a man in his mid-40s with kind eyes and a gentle smile. He helped me get David into the back seat, where my husband immediately slumped against the window, unconscious. I gave the driver our address in Westlake Hills and settled into the seat, grateful for the silence. We were barely 5 minutes into the drive when the driver spoke. "Rough night?" His voice was soft, without judgment. I laughed bitterly. "You could say that." He nodded, eyes on the road. "I've been driving a taxi for 12 years. You see a lot of things. A lot of couples. A lot of stories." I didn't respond. I wasn't sure I wanted to hear where this was going, but then he said it. "Your husband doesn't deserve you." I froze. "Excuse me?" He glanced at me in the mirror. "I'm sorry if I'm overstepping, but I can see it. The way you look at him, the sadness in your eyes, the resignation. You're exhausted, aren't you? Exhausted from carrying the weight of this marriage alone. If you're relating to this story, please subscribe to the channel. Your support means everything to me, and it helps me continue sharing these real experiences." Tears welled up in my eyes. How could this stranger see what my own family and friends couldn't? Or maybe they could, and they just chose to look away. "I don't know what you're talking about," I whispered, but my voice betrayed me. The driver was quiet for a moment, then he spoke again. "My name is Marcus, and I'm going to tell you something because I think you need to hear it. 7 years ago, I was where your husband is right now. Drunk, absent, taking my wife for granted. She was beautiful, intelligent, patient. Too patient. She gave me chance after chance, and I wasted every single one." I found myself leaning forward, captivated by his words. What happened? Marcus's jaw tightened. "One day, I came home and she was gone, just like that. Left a note saying she couldn't watch me destroy myself anymore, and that she couldn't let me destroy her in the process. It was the wake-up call I needed, but it was too late. She had already met someone else, someone who treated her the way she deserved to be treated." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. "I'm sorry," I murmured. "Don't be sorry for me," Marcus said. "Be sorry for yourself if you don't do something about your situation. Life is too short to spend it being unhappy, too short to love someone who doesn't see you." David snored loudly in the seat beside me, oblivious to the conversation that was unraveling everything I thought I knew about my life. "It's not that simple," I said, more to myself than to Marcus. "He's not a bad person. He's just..." Going through a difficult time. Marcus nodded slowly. That's what my wife used to say. He's not bad. He's just stressed. He's not neglectful. He's just busy. But at some point, you have to ask yourself, when does a difficult time become your entire life? The question echoed in my mind as we drove through the quiet streets of Austin. The city lights blurred past the window, and I felt like I was in some kind of dream or nightmare. I couldn't tell anymore. There's something else, Marcus said, his voice lower now. Something I need to tell you, and I hope you don't take this the wrong way. My heart started pounding. What is it? He took a deep breath. I saw your husband tonight, at the party, before you called the taxi. I stiffened. Okay? He wasn't alone when he left the building. There was a woman with him, a blonde woman in a red dress. They were close? Very close. The world stopped spinning. I couldn't breathe. What are you saying? Marcus's eyes met mine in the mirror, filled with compassion and regret. I'm saying that when I pulled up, they were standing in the parking lot. She had her hand on his chest. He was laughing. And then she kissed him. On the cheek, but it wasn't a friendly kiss. It was intimate, familiar. I felt like I was going to be sick. You're lying. You have to be lying. I wish I was, Marcus said quietly. I debated whether to tell you or not. It's not my place. But then I saw you, saw the way you care for him despite everything, and I couldn't stay silent. You deserve to know the truth. Please, if this story is touching your heart, hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel grow and allows me to share more stories like this one. I turned to look at David, still unconscious, still oblivious. Was it true? Was my husband having an affair? The signs were all there, weren't they? The late nights, the distance, the smell of perfume that wasn't mine that I had noticed on his shirt last week and convinced myself was from a colleague's hug. Who is she? I heard myself ask. Marcus shook his head. I don't know. I'd never seen her before. But she seemed to know him well. The rest of the drive passed in a blur. My mind was racing, replaying every moment of the past 3 months, looking for clues I had missed. Every excuse, every explanation, every reassurance now felt like a lie. When we pulled up to our house, Marcus turned around in his seat. I'm sorry for being the bearer of bad news. But I learned the hard way that ignorance isn't bliss. It's just delayed pain. I paid the fare with trembling hands and gave him a generous tip. Thank you, I whispered, for your honesty. He smiled sadly. Take care of yourself, Sarah. You're stronger than you think. How did he know my name? I must have said it at some point, though I couldn't remember when. Or maybe David had mumbled it in his drunken sleep. It didn't matter. I somehow managed to get David out of the taxi and into the house. He woke up just enough to stumble to the bedroom and collapse on the bed, fully clothed. I stood in the doorway watching him, this man I had pledged my life to, and I felt nothing but emptiness. I went to the guest room and sat on the edge of the bed, staring at my phone. I wanted to call someone. My sister, my best friend, anyone. But it was past midnight, and what would I even say? Hi, a taxi driver told me my husband might be cheating on me? It sounded absurd. Instead, I did what any modern woman in crisis would do. I started investigating. I grabbed David's laptop from his home office. He had never been secretive about his password. It was my birthday. Sweet, right? Or maybe just lazy. I opened his email first. Work emails, mostly. Boring legal documents and meeting schedules. Nothing suspicious. Then I checked his social media. David barely used Facebook or Instagram, preferring to keep his life private. But there, in his message requests, was a thread I had never seen before. The profile picture was of a blonde woman. Beautiful, polished, confident. Her name was Jessica Winters. I clicked on the conversation with my heart in my throat. The messages went back 2 months. Great seeing you tonight. Can't stop thinking about our conversation. When can we meet again? Nothing explicitly romantic or sexual, but the tone was unmistakable. Flirtatious, intimate, excited. And then, just 3 days ago, Thank you for last night. I needed that more than you know. You make me feel alive again. David's response. You're amazing, Jess. Let's not wait so long next time. I felt like someone had reached into my chest and squeezed my heart until it burst. Jess. He had a nickname for her, a term of endearment. How long had this been going on? How many lies had he told me? I spent the next hour scrolling through everything I could find. Jessica Winters was a consultant who had worked with David's firm on a recent merger case. She was 30 years old, single, with a degree from Harvard, and a smile that probably made men forget their own names. She was everything I wasn't. Ambitious, independent, free. No wonder David was drawn to her. The sun was starting to rise when I finally closed the laptop. I hadn't slept. I hadn't cried. I just felt numb, like I was watching my life from outside my body. David woke up around 8, groaning and holding his head. He stumbled into the bathroom and I heard the shower running. When he emerged 20 minutes later, wrapped in a towel, he looked surprised to see me sitting in the bedroom chair, still wearing my dress from the night before. Babe, did you sleep here? Why aren't you in bed? His voice was rough from the alcohol. I looked at him, this stranger with my husband's face. We need to talk. Something in my tone made him freeze. About what? About Jessica Winters. If you're hooked on this story, don't forget to subscribe. I share real stories from real people, and your subscription helps me continue this work. The color drained from his face. For a moment, he just stood there, water dripping from his hair onto the carpet. Then he tried to laugh it off. Who? I don't. I work with a lot of people, Sarah. You can't expect me to... Don't lie to me, I said, my voice deadly calm. I read your messages. I saw everything. David's expression changed from confusion to panic, to something that looked almost like relief. Like he had been waiting for this moment, this confrontation. And now that it was here, he could finally stop pretending. Okay, he said quietly. Okay, let me get dressed, and we'll talk. He went to the closet and pulled on jeans and a t-shirt, moving slowly like he was buying time to figure out what to say. When he sat on the edge of the bed, he looked at his hands instead of at me. How long? I asked. He sighed. It's not what you think. How long, David? 2 months, maybe 3. I don't know exactly when it started. 3 months. The entire time he had been drinking, the entire time he had been distant, he had been with her. Are you sleeping with her? He looked up at me then, and I saw something in his eyes that I had never seen before. Guilt, yes, but also defiance. Does it matter? Does it matter? I repeated, incredulous. Yes, David, it matters. You're my husband. We made vows. Vows you stopped caring about a long time ago, he shot back, and there was anger in his voice now. When was the last time you actually looked at me, Sarah? When was the last time you asked me about my day and meant it? When was the last time you made me feel like I was more than just a paycheck? I felt like he had slapped me. That's not fair. I've been here, David. I've been here every single day waiting for you to come home, trying to make this work. Trying? He interrupted. You've been going through the motions. We both have. This marriage has been dead for a year, and we've both been too scared to admit it. The words hung in the air between us, heavy and true and devastating. So you decided to have an affair instead of talking to me? I asked, tears finally spilling down my cheeks. Instead of trying to fix things? David ran his hands through his wet hair. I didn't plan it, Sarah. I didn't wake up one day and decide to cheat on my wife. It just happened. Jessica listened to me. She saw me. She made me feel like I mattered. And I didn't? My voice broke. Apparently not, he said, and the cruelty of it took my breath away. We sat in silence for a long moment. Outside, I could hear birds singing, neighbors starting their Saturday morning routines, life continuing as if mine wasn't falling apart. What do you want? I finally asked. Do you want a divorce? Do you want to be with her? David looked at me. really looked at me for the first time in months. "I don't know," he admitted. "I don't know what I want anymore. I know I'm not happy. I know I haven't been happy for a long time. And I don't think you have either." He was right. I hadn't been happy. But I had been committed. I had been loyal. I had been trying. "The taxi driver last night," I said suddenly. "He told me he saw you with her. At the party. He saw you kiss her." David's jaw clenched. It was just a kiss on the cheek. We were saying goodbye. "But it wasn't really goodbye, was it?" I pressed. "You're going to see her again. You're going to keep seeing her." He didn't answer, which was answer enough. I stood up, my legs shaky beneath me. "I need some air. I need to think." "Sarah!" David reached for me, but I stepped back. "Don't touch me, please. I need to be alone right now." I grabbed my purse and keys and walked out of the house. I got in my car and drove without any destination in mind. I ended up at a park near Lake Travis, one of the places David and I used to go when we first started dating. We'd have picnics there talking about our dreams and our future. How had we gotten from there to here? I sat on a bench overlooking the water and let myself cry. Really cry. For the marriage I was losing, for the man I thought I knew, for the future I had imagined that would never exist. My phone buzzed. A text from my sister Lisa. "Brunch tomorrow?" I couldn't face her, couldn't face anyone. Not yet. I typed back, "Rain check? Not feeling great." Her response came immediately. "Everything okay?" "No," I wanted to scream. "Nothing is okay. My husband is cheating on me, my marriage is over, and I don't know how to pick up the pieces." But instead, I wrote, "Just a headache. I'll call you soon." Another text came through, this one from an unknown number. "Hi, Sarah, this is Marcus from last night. I hope it's okay that I'm reaching out. You left your scarf in my taxi. I have it if you'd like to pick it up. Also wanted to check that you're doing okay." I had left my scarf? I didn't even remember wearing one. But the gesture of him reaching out, of him caring enough to check on me, made fresh tears stream down my face. I texted back, "Thank you. I'd like to get it back. Are you working today?" His response, "I can meet you wherever is convenient for you. I'm off today, but happy to drop it off." We arranged to meet at a coffee shop in South Congress in an hour. I used the time to try to pull myself together, washing my face in the park restroom and putting on sunglasses to hide my swollen eyes. Subscribe to the channel if you want to know what happens next. These stories are real, and your support helps me continue sharing them with the world. Marcus was already at the coffee shop when I arrived, sitting at a corner table with my black cashmere scarf folded neatly in front of him. He stood when he saw me, his expression concerned. "Sarah, thank you for meeting me." I sat down across from him. "Thank you for returning my scarf, and for everything you said last night." He pushed the scarf toward me. "I've been thinking about you all morning. Worried I overstepped. Worried I made things worse." "You didn't make things worse," I said quietly. "You told me the truth, and you were right. About everything." His eyes searched my face. "What happened?" And so I told him. I told him about finding the messages, about the confrontation with David, about the admission that our marriage had been dying for longer than either of us wanted to admit. Marcus listened without interrupting, his expression a mix of empathy and something else I couldn't quite name. When I finished, he reached across the table and squeezed my hand briefly. "I'm so sorry. No one deserves to go through this." "The worst part," I said, "is that he's not entirely wrong. We have been going through the motions. I have been distant. I just didn't realize how bad things had gotten until it was too late." Marcus shook his head. "Being distant doesn't justify betrayal. There's no excuse for what he did. If he was unhappy, he should have talked to you, worked on the marriage, not gone looking for comfort in someone else's arms." We talked for over 2 hours. Marcus told me more about his own divorce, about the pain and the guilt and eventually the healing. He told me about his daughter Emma, who was now 12 and the light of his life. He told me how he had rebuilt himself from rock bottom, how he had learned to be alone without being lonely. "The hardest thing," he said, "is forgiving yourself. For not seeing the signs, for not fighting harder, for staying too long or leaving too soon. But eventually, you realize that you did the best you could with what you knew at the time. When we finally left the coffee shop, the sun was high in the sky. Marcus walked me to my car. "What are you going to do?" he asked. "I don't know," I admitted. "I need to figure out if there's anything left to save, if I even want to save it." He nodded. "Whatever you decide, make sure it's for you, not for him, not for what people will think, not for the life you thought you'd have. For you." As I drove home, his words echoed in my mind. What did I want? Did I want to fight for my marriage, go to counseling, try to rebuild trust? Or did I want to walk away, start over, find out who Sarah was without David? The house was empty when I got back. A note on the kitchen counter in David's handwriting. "Went to my brother's place. Thought you might want space. We can talk whenever you're ready." I crumpled the note in my fist. Of course he went to his brother's. Not to a hotel, not to give me the house, but to his brother's where he could paint himself as the victim, where he could get sympathy and support while I sat alone in our empty home. My phone rang. Jessica Winter's name flashed on the screen. How did she have my number? My hands shook as I answered. "Hello? Sarah?" Her voice was smooth, professional, unbothered. "This is Jessica Winters. I think we need to talk." "I don't have anything to say to you," I said, my voice ice cold. "Maybe not," she replied. "But I have things to say to you. And I think you deserve to hear them. Can we meet? Tomorrow, maybe? Just the two of us." Every fiber of my being wanted to say no. Wanted to hang up, block her number, pretend she didn't exist. But a stronger part of me, the part that was tired of being in the dark, that was tired of other people making decisions about my life, said yes. "Fine. Where?" We arranged to meet at a wine bar in downtown Austin the next evening. As I hung up, I wondered if I was making a huge mistake. What could she possibly have to say to me that would make any of this better? That night, I barely slept. I kept replaying everything in my mind, looking for the moment where I could have done something different, said something different, been something different that would have prevented this. The next day dragged by in a haze. David texted asking if he could come by to get some clothes. I told him to come while I was out. I didn't want to see him. Not yet. When evening came, I dressed carefully, choosing a sleek black dress that made me feel powerful and a bold red lipstick that was like war paint. If I was going into battle, I was going to look the part. Jessica was already at the wine bar when I arrived, seated at a high-top table in the back. She was even more beautiful in person than in her photos, with flawless skin and eyes that were disarmingly direct. She stood when she saw me. "Sarah, thank you for coming." I didn't return the greeting. I just sat down and ordered a glass of Cabernet. Jessica ordered the same. We sat in awkward silence until the drinks arrived. "I'm not going to pretend this isn't strange," Jessica began, "but I wanted to talk to you face to face because I think you deserve the truth. The whole truth, not just David's version." I took a long sip of wine. "I'm listening. Don't forget to subscribe if you're following along with this story. Your engagement means everything and helps me share these powerful experiences." Jessica leaned forward. "David and I met 3 months ago on the merger case. He was brilliant, funny, and seemed so unhappy. We started having lunch together, just friendly at first. He talked about you, about how you two had grown apart, about how lonely he felt in his own home." I flinched, but she continued. "I didn't pursue him, Sarah. I want you to know that. But when he kissed me after a late night working on the case, I didn't stop him. And I should have." "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Because I found out something yesterday that changes everything," she said, her voice cracking slightly. "I'm pregnant." The world tilted. "What?" "I'm pregnant, and before you ask, yes. It's David's. I'm absolutely certain." She pulled out her phone and showed me a photo of a positive pregnancy test. "I took this test yesterday morning. I haven't told him yet. I wanted to talk to you first. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. My husband's mistress was pregnant with his child. This wasn't just an affair anymore. This was a life, a person, a permanent connection between them. "Why are you telling me before telling him?" I managed to ask. Jessica's eyes filled with tears. "Because I don't know what to do. And because I realized that I'm not the only one whose life is about to be turned upside down. You have a right to know what you're dealing with before you make any decisions about your marriage." "How noble of you," I said bitterly. She flinched. "I deserve that." "I know I do. But Sarah, I need you to understand something. I never meant for any of this to happen. I didn't set out to destroy your marriage or to get pregnant or to complicate everyone's lives. I'm just a woman who made a terrible mistake and now has to live with the consequences." "Do you love him?" The question came out before I could stop it. Jessica was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know. I think I might. But it doesn't matter now, does it? Everything is different now." We sat in silence, two women connected by one man and the mess he had made of all our lives. "What are you going to do?" I asked. "About the pregnancy?" She wrapped her hands around her wine glass, though she hadn't taken a sip. "I'm going to keep it. I'm 30 years old, Sarah. I've spent my entire adult life building my career, and I always thought I'd have time for family later. Maybe this is my wake-up call. Maybe this is later. I wanted to hate her. God, I wanted to hate her so much. But looking at her, seeing her fear and confusion and pain, I realized she was as much a victim of David's selfishness as I was. "Are you going to tell him tonight?" I asked. She nodded. "I think I have to. He deserves to know. And then he needs to decide what he wants to do. About us. About you. About this baby." I stood up, leaving most of my wine untouched. "Thank you for telling me. I know you didn't have to." Jessica looked up at me, mascara starting to smudge under her eyes. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I'm truly, deeply sorry for the pain I've caused you." I nodded and walked out of the wine bar into the cool Austin night. My phone buzzed with a text from David. "We really need to talk. Can I come home tonight?" I didn't respond. Instead, I got in my car and drove. I ended up back at Lake Travis, sitting on the same bench where I had cried the day before. The moon was full, reflecting off the water in shimmering silver ribbons. My life as I knew it was over. Even if I wanted to save my marriage, how could I? Jessica was having David's baby. He would be connected to her forever. Every birthday, every holiday, every milestone would include her. Could I live with that? Could I be the stepmother to my husband's affair baby? And more importantly, did I even want to try? My phone rang. It was Marcus. I answered without thinking. "Hello? Sarah? I hope I'm not overstepping, but I've been thinking about you. How are you doing?" And for the first time in 2 days, I broke down completely. I told him everything. About Jessica, about the pregnancy, about the impossible choice I was facing. Marcus listened to it all, and when I finally ran out of words, he said, "Sarah, I'm coming to get you. You shouldn't be alone right now." "Where are you?" I gave him my location, and 20 minutes later, his car pulled into the parking lot. He got out and walked over to my bench, sitting beside me without a word. We sat in silence, looking at the water, and somehow his presence was the most comforting thing I had felt in days. "I don't know what to do," I whispered. "I know," he said softly. "But you don't have to figure it all out tonight. You just have to get through tonight." He drove me home, refusing to let me drive myself. At my front door, he hesitated. "Will you be okay?" I looked at this kind stranger, who had somehow become the most honest person in my life. "I don't know, but thank you. For everything." He squeezed my shoulder gently. "Call me if you need anything. Any time." I mean that. As I watched him drive away, I realized something. I had been so focused on David, on my marriage, on what I was losing, that I hadn't thought about what I might gain. Freedom, self-respect, the chance to find someone who saw me, really saw me, the way Marcus seemed to. Inside the house, I found David in the living room, sitting on the couch with his head in his hands. He looked up when I entered, his eyes red and swollen. "Jessica called me," he said. "She told me everything, about the baby, about meeting with you. If you've made it this far, please subscribe. This story isn't over, and I need your support to continue sharing these raw, real experiences. I sat in the chair across from him, maintaining distance. So now you know. Sarah, he started, then stopped. I don't even know what to say. I never meant for any of this to happen. That seems to be everyone's favorite line, I said coldly. But it did happen, David. You made it happen. You made a choice, over and over again, to betray me. And now there are consequences. He looked at me with desperation. I know I've made mistakes. Terrible, unforgivable mistakes. But we can get through this. We can go to counseling. We can work on us. There is no us anymore, I interrupted. There's you, and there's Jessica, and there's a baby. That's your family now. No, he said firmly, standing up. You're my family. You're my wife. I married you. I love you. Do you? I asked. Do you really? Because loving someone means being honest with them. It means working through problems together. It means not running into another woman's arms the moment things get hard. David sank back onto the couch. You're right. You're absolutely right. I've been a coward and a fool. But Sarah, please, give me a chance to make this right. I'll end things with Jessica. I'll be there for the baby financially, but that's it. We can move past this. I looked at my husband, this man I had built a life with, and I felt nothing. No love, no hate, just emptiness. I need time, I finally said. I need time to think about what I want, what I actually want, not what I'm supposed to want or what people expect me to want. David nodded eagerly. Of course. Take all the time you need. I'll stay at my brother's. Just please, don't give up on us yet. After he left, I sat alone in the silent house. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. You got home safe? Just checking in. I smiled despite everything. Yes, thank you for caring. His response, always. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my mind racing with possibilities. I could forgive David, try to rebuild, become a stepmother to his child with Jessica, pretend that everything was okay and hope that eventually it would be. Or I could leave, file for divorce, start over, find out who I was outside of this marriage. Maybe even explore whatever this connection was with Marcus, this stranger who seemed to understand me better than my own husband. The next morning, I woke up with clarity I hadn't felt in months. I knew what I had to do. I called a lawyer and scheduled a consultation for the following week. I called my sister and asked her to come over. When Lisa arrived and I told her everything, she held me while I cried, then looked me in the eye and said, "Whatever you decide, I'm with you. But please, please choose yourself this time." David called every day. At first, I answered. We had calm, sad conversations about logistics and feelings and the future. But with each conversation, I felt myself pulling further away. Not just from him, but from the life we had built together. I started looking at apartments, small, sunny places that were just for me. I started thinking about going back to school, finishing the art history degree I had abandoned when we got married. I started imagining a future that didn't include him. Marcus and I started meeting for coffee once a week, just talking, sharing stories, becoming friends. He never pushed, never suggested anything inappropriate. He was just there, steady and kind and honest. And slowly, I realized that this was what I had been missing. Not passion or excitement or romance, but simple respect and genuine connection. 3 weeks after that night in the taxi, I met David at our house one last time. I had made my decision. I want a divorce, I said, my voice steady and sure. David's face crumbled. Sarah, please, we can still fix this. No, I said gently. We can't. And more importantly, I don't want to. I deserve better than this, David. I deserve someone who chooses me, fully and completely. And you deserve to be with someone you actually want to be with. I do want to be with you, he insisted. Then why weren't you? I asked. Why did you spend months lying to me, sneaking around with Jessica, drinking yourself unconscious. If you wanted to be with me, you would have been. He had no answer for that. Now I'm sitting here telling you this story and I still don't have all the answers. The divorce isn't final yet. David is trying to be involved with Jessica's pregnancy, though from what I hear, it's complicated. They're trying to make it work for the baby's sake, but I don't think either of them is happy. Marcus and I are still just friends, though sometimes I catch him looking at me in a way that makes my heart skip. Maybe someday we'll be more, maybe not. But for now, I'm focusing on me, on healing, on rebuilding, on figuring out who Sarah is when she's not someone's wife. So I want to ask you, because I genuinely don't know, what would you do in my place? Did I give up too easily? Should I have fought harder for my marriage? Or did I do the right thing by choosing myself? Leave a comment below. Subscribe to this channel if you want to follow my journey. Because this story isn't over, it's just beginning. And I have no idea where it's going to lead. But for the first time in years, I'm excited to find out. What would you do in my place?